Good morning, everyone.
Oh, no.
It is my pleasure to welcome you at STATEC for the presentation of the 13th Global Entrepreneurship Monitor Luxembourg report. And I am particularly pleased, of course, to host this year's launch at STATEC, because last year the report was presented at the House of Entrepreneurship, right next to the Chamber of Commerce. So this reflects, I think, the spirit as well of the GEM project, because it is a shared initiative built on the collaboration between institutions that are committed to improving our understanding of entrepreneurship in Luxembourg. Entrepreneurship has long been recognized as a fundamental driver of economic development. More than 80 years ago, Joseph Schumpeter described entrepreneurs as agents of creative disruption, introducing new ideas, products, business models that continually renew the economy. Some decades later, William Baumol, in his influential paper Entrepreneurship, Productive, Unproductive, and Destructive, he reminded us that the key challenge for public policy is not simply to encourage entrepreneurship, but to create the institutions and entrepreneurial ecosystem that channel entrepreneurial talent towards productive activities that generate innovation, jobs, and prosperity. And this is precisely why the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor is valuable. It is complementing official business statistics and firm-level statistics, and GEM goes beyond measuring how many people start businesses. It provides evidence of entrepreneurs' motivations, aspirations, capabilities, barriers, and the quality of the ecosystem I mentioned before. In doing so, it helps us understand not only the quantity of entrepreneurship, but also its quality and its contribution to economic and social development. At the same time, entrepreneurship is not limited to few high-growth startups that often attract public attention. Many entrepreneurs run very small businesses, single-person businesses. They are self-employed professionals or they are freelancers. So somewhere between being an employee and becoming an employer. It is therefore fitting that we meet just a few days after the United Nations Micro, Small, and Medium-sized Enterprises Day on June 27th, which reminded us that SMEs are the backbone not only of the Luxembourg but as well on European economies. And understanding the motivations and challenges of these entrepreneurs is essential for informed policymaking. At STATEC, our role is to provide reliable and objective statistics that contribute to informed public debate and evidence-based policymaking. The GEM project fits naturally within this mission by combining internationally comparable data with analyses that address issues of particular relevance for Luxembourg. This year marks the publication of the 13th GEM Luxembourg report, as I mentioned at the beginning. And after 13 consecutive years of participation, we have accumulated a unique body of knowledge and entrepreneurship in Luxembourg. We are now able to not only monitor the long-term developments, but also to benchmark Luxembourg against many other countries using internationally comparable indicators. This long-term perspective is one of the greatest strengths of the GEM project. Another strength of GEM is its ability to evolve alongside the economy. Every year, the survey addresses new issues that matter for entrepreneurs and policymakers. Other issues, like sustainability, has now become a permanent component of the GEM survey. The report shows that entrepreneurs in Luxembourg continue to integrate environmental and social considerations into their business strategies, allowing us to monitor how entrepreneurship contributes to the transition towards a more sustainable economy. At the same time, rapid advances in artificial intelligence are transforming business models and creating new opportunities and challenges. GEM was among the first international entrepreneurship survey to investigate how entrepreneurs perceive the role of AI in their business. By repeating the module this year, we can now observe how perceptions of both opportunities and challenges and risks associated with AI are evolving over time. Remaining relevant also means responding to emerging policy questions. This year's report therefore introduces two Luxembourg-specific modules. The first examines how entrepreneurs perceive recent changes in international trade and migration policies, while the second analyzes how entrepreneurs finance their business during the early stages of development. Access to finance and international uncertainty have indeed become a central policy concern, and these modules provide evidence that is not available from other statistical sources. The GEM survey has also provided an opportunity for methodological research to test new approaches to data collection. It was among the first survey to combine telephone and web interviews and experimenting with online panels as early as 2013. This has given us valuable experience with mixed mode survey modes while maintaining data quality. Looking ahead, we are exploring ways to complement the GEM project with more timely evidence. To this end, we are conducting a pilot study in Luxembourg to test shorter and more agile entrepreneurship survey. It is not intended to replace the annual GEM survey, which remains, of course, essential for international comparison. But it is meant to provide faster insights into entrepreneurs' perceptions, emerging challenges in Luxembourg. If successful, it could become a valuable addition to our toolkit for monitoring entrepreneurship. None of this would be possible without collaboration, of course. I would therefore like to thank our long-standing partners, the Ministry of Economics, the Chamber of Commerce, and the House of Entrepreneurship, who have trusted and supported this initiative since Luxembourg joined the GEM consortium in 2013. I would also like to thank the International GEM Consortium, whose methodological work makes these international comparisons possible. GEM is not only a valuable resource for policymakers, it is also an important source of data for academic research. This afternoon's entrepreneurship research session illustrates this perfectly. We will hear from distinguished scholars presenting research on three highly relevant topics. First, the relationship between entrepreneurship, economic growth. Second, entrepreneurship in the context of war and peace. And third, the contribution of entrepreneurship to local economic resilience. Finally, I want, of course, thank the GEM Luxembourg team at STATEC Research, all the survey participants, the national experts who generously shared their knowledge, and everyone who has contributed to this year's report. I wish you an informative and enjoyable afternoon, and I invite the authors to present the main findings of the GEM Luxembourg report. But before I give the floor to Stéphanie Damier, Director of the House of Entrepreneurship, and then to Gilles Scholtus, First Councillor at the Ministry of Economics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and ladies and gentlemen, dear partners, and it's a real pleasure to be here with you today. In times of geopolitical uncertainty, rapid technological change, and profound economic transformation, entrepreneurship has never been more important. Entrepreneurs are not simply adapting to change, they are driving it. Through resilience, innovation, and investment, they contribute every day to shaping the future of our economy. This is precisely why the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor is so valuable. The Global Entrepreneurship Monitor is much more than just a collection of data. It offers a unique perspective on entrepreneurship in Luxembourg. Beyond the figures, it helps us better understand entrepreneurial mindsets and motivations, identify emerging trends, and gain deeper insights into the opportunities and challenges faced by entrepreneurs, as well as by those considering starting a business. One of the great strengths of the GEM is a continuity. Year after year, it enables us to follow how entrepreneurship evolves, identify emerging trends, and compare Luxembourg's entrepreneurial ecosystem with those of other economies around the world. Most importantly, it helps us better understand the realities, perceptions, and aspirations of entrepreneurs. By capturing their experiences and those of ecosystem experts, it provides valuable insights that help us identify priorities, challenge assumptions, and continuously adapt the way we support entrepreneurship in Luxembourg. The strength of this project also lies in the collaboration behind it. By bringing together the Chamber of Commerce, its House of Entrepreneurship, the Ministry of Economy, and STATEC, we combine research, public policy, and the daily realities of entrepreneurs. This long-standing partnership reflects a shared ambition to better understand the entrepreneurial landscape in order to support it more effectively. As Luxembourg's one-stop shop, the House of Entrepreneurship builds on these insights to stay closely connected to realities on the ground, continuously adapt its services, anticipate emerging needs, and ensure that entrepreneurs receive the right support at every stage of their journey. The GEM also allows us to identify priorities that will shape tomorrow's entrepreneurial landscape, from access to finance, talent attraction and talent retention, infrastructure, as well as digitalizations, including AI, sustainability, and international dynamics. It gives us an objective and internationally comparable picture of where we stand and where we need to focus our efforts. At the same time, entrepreneurship is not only a matter of economic indicators. It is above all about people, their motivations, aspirations, and the challenges they face. That is why I am particularly also pleased that this summer we will contribute to a dedicated study on entrepreneurial failure and the fear of failure, together with STATEC. The objective is to gain a deeper understanding of how these factors influence entrepreneurial intentions, decision-making, and business development in Luxembourg. The results expected next year will complement the insights provided by the GEM and further strengthen our understanding of the entrepreneurial journey. At the end of the day, entrepreneurship is not only about creating businesses. It is about shaping the future of the economy. Before handing it over, I would like to warmly thank the STATEC team, the Ministry of the Economy, and all our partners for their continued commitment and the excellent collaboration that makes the project possible year after year. I hope today's findings will not only deepen our understanding of entrepreneurship in Luxembourg, but also inspire us to continue strengthening the environment in which entrepreneurs can start, grow, and succeed. I wish you insightful and inspiring discussion. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. So it's one of the first times that I participate in the presentation of the result of the GEM study for Luxembourg, or the report for Luxembourg. And I'm very pleased also the previous people that spoke did it mention it already. It's a real partnership between STATEC, that is has somewhat the lead in the elaboration with the GEM people, the consortium, Chamber of Commerce, long-standing partner, also, and the Ministry of Economy. As the policymakers, it's of course very interesting to have an immediate feedback from the entrepreneurs, because how would you otherwise understand what are the needs and how people live their step into entrepreneurship. Like Tom has said, the initiative was started in 2013, and it helps us to understand the intensity and evolution of entrepreneurial activity in Luxembourg. We can also say that entrepreneurship is a key driver for economic dynamism, innovation, and resilience, which is really very important points for entrepreneurs nowadays. The other point is definitely that with the feedback, what are the challenges, what are the difficulties? It's very important for us to have the feedback, because as you may know, in our Directorate General, we are also, one of our missions is administrative simplification, which is a key topic for new entrepreneurs. And like Tom has said, it's not just saying, okay, let's go become an entrepreneur. I remember roughly 20 years ago, we had a campaign saying, "Trau dich," it's dare to launch yourself. But nowadays, we have an ecosystem around. The best example is House of Entrepreneurship. It's one-stop shop with the colleagues from Chambre des Métiers. An entrepreneur goes to that address, can have lots of context, lot of information to facilitate his first steps. 20 years ago, just there to establish, it was not the ecosystem around. So, and there is a big help nowadays that is ready in Luxembourg to help out the company. For me, as a member of Ministry of Economy, the most important point is that we have data, high quality data, that we can put into place data-driven decisions to improve the entrepreneurial environment for the actual entrepreneurs and the future entrepreneurs. Another point that we look about every year is that people that go into entrepreneurship, if they are opportunity driven or necessity driven. Historically, in Luxembourg, it's more opportunity driven, but it was one of the last years we had once the tendency changed, and but two yearly report, it's again more opportunity driven, which is for us in Luxembourg a good indicator. Another point is that Stephanie and Tom mentioned it. It's a good method to see emerging trends. And if you see emerging trends, you can also cope with them. You can put into place a mechanism to help it out, or that the emerging trends, if they have also some kind of constraints, that you can handle them better. And then this is really in the chapter of data-driven decision-taking and data that we have available data about entrepreneurship. So GEM helps to increase the visibility of entrepreneurship. And as we always say, that small and medium businesses are considered as the backbone of economies, which is definitely the case all over Europe. So the visibility of entrepreneurship is very important, to see it on the map as an opportunity in your professional life, that at one moment in time you say, okay, I go for it, I want to be an entrepreneur. So the setup is there that you can launch in a career opportunity as an entrepreneur, and this is very important for public policy. And then I would like to finish on a point we had a few weeks ago, an event about business transfer, and there was some people from abroad that came also as experts, and we had a meeting with a Canadian representative, and he was also involved in the GEM study in Canada. So the GEM study is also a way to build bridges between countries, and this was for me. I knew the person, he's called Mr. Duhamel, for quite a few years, but I was never aware that he was involved in the GEM study in Canada. So that was for me a news, and that I also say, you see that it gives opportunity in networks to collaborate and far beyond our national borders. Thank you very much.
Now we have the pleasure to have Alina Ionescu Somers, CEO of GEM Global, online. Hello, Eileen.
Hello.
The floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning from Switzerland to all the guests and partners, the GEM Luxembourg national team and representatives of government and the entrepreneurial community. I actually have an echo going on here. No.
Indeed, we hear you not really clear. 1 second.
Okay. I'll just wait for you to tell me. Yeah. So it's really a great pleasure to join you today for the launch of the 2025-26 GEM Luxembourg National Report. I'd like to thank first the GEM Luxembourg National Team for their kind invitation. And on behalf of the GEM Consortium, we call it a family. I extend warm greetings from a global network of more than 60 national teams. That represents over 370 researchers across all continents and working from more than 150 universities and research institutions around the world. Our work is made possible through the support of over 150 funding organizations whose commitment has enabled GEM to become the world's largest and longest running study of entrepreneurial attitudes, aspirations, and activity. So first, let me congratulate the team, the GEM Luxembourg National Team, on producing yet another outstanding report. Of course, research of this quality is never accidental. It reflects rigorous methodology, careful analysis, strong partnerships, as has already been said, and above all, a commitment to ensuring that entrepreneurship is grounded in evidence rather than assumption. And for more than 25 years, in fact, it's 27 years now, GEM has been guided by a single belief. Simply, you cannot strengthen what you do not understand. And that idea has shaped everything we do. Since our founding, we have asked a deceptively simple question: what makes entrepreneurship flourish? And today that question is more relevant than ever. We're living through a period of profound change, economic uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, rapid technological advances, demographic shifts, climate challenges. I'm speaking from Switzerland and we have never had it so hot, and changing labor markets. They are all reshaping economies across the world. And the assumptions that guided economic development even a decade ago are really being challenged at this moment in time. In this environment, governments seek stability, businesses seek resilience, and citizens seek opportunity. Entrepreneurship actually sits at the intersection of all three. Entrepreneurship is far more than creating new businesses. It's about recognizing opportunities where others see obstacles. It's about combining talent, knowledge, capital, and determination to create value. It's about innovation, adaptability, and resilience. Most importantly, entrepreneurship creates choices, jobs, for example. It develops new industries. It introduces new products and services and generates opportunities for individuals, communities, and economies alike. And for that reason, entrepreneurship should increasingly be viewed not simply as an economic activity, but as a veritable cornerstone of national resilience. And this is precisely why the work of Global Entrepreneurship Monitor matters. Many organizations measure business creation or investment activity. Others analyze innovation, productivity, or economic performance. But GEM does something fundamentally different. We seek to understand the people behind entrepreneurship. This people-centered perspective is what makes GEM distinctive. We recognize that entrepreneurship begins long before a business is registered. It begins when individuals recognize opportunities, believe they have the capabilities to act, and decide that the potential rewards outweigh the risks. Through our adult population survey and national expert survey, we examine not only entrepreneurial activity itself, but also the motivations, aspirations, capabilities, perceptions, and barriers that shape entrepreneurial behavior. Each year, GEM surveys more than 170,000 adults across participating economies, capturing the experiences and aspirations of entrepreneurs and potential entrepreneurs of every age and at every stage of the entrepreneurial journey. Alongside this, our National Expert Survey gathers insights from experts who understand the conditions that influence entrepreneurship, including finance, education, infrastructure, government policy, and culture. We look across the entire entrepreneurial journey, from entrepreneurial intention and new business creation to established business ownership and business exits. We explore who participates in entrepreneurship, the role of innovation, internationalization, and growth aspirations, and how national conditions support or constrain entrepreneurial ambition. By bringing together individual behavior and the wider entrepreneurial ecosystem, GEM provides a uniquely comprehensive understanding of entrepreneurship. And that gives policymakers, educators, researchers, and business leaders something exceptionally valuable, and that is understanding. Our data help countries understand not only how much entrepreneurship is taking place, but why it is or is not happening. Over the past quarter of a century, GEM has collected data from more than 120 economies, creating an unparalleled body of evidence on entrepreneurship across different cultures, income levels, and stages of economic development. Few research initiatives can claim such breadth, consistency, and longevity, because we apply a consistent methodology across countries, and over time, GEM has become one of the world's most comprehensive and internationally comparative sources of entrepreneurship research. Policymakers use GEM to design evidence-based entrepreneurship strategies. Universities incorporate GEM findings into research and teaching. International organizations, development agencies, and investors rely on GEM to better understand entrepreneurial ecosystems and identify emerging trends. Every national report tells an important story. Together, those stories create a global picture of entrepreneurship, allowing us to identify emerging trends and to learn from one another and replace assumptions with evidence. Another of GEM's greatest strengths is actually continuity. For some 27 years now, we have collected data using a consistent methodology. That allows us not only to compare countries, but also to understand how entrepreneurial ecosystems evolve over time. We can observe how attitudes change following economic crises, how policy reforms influence entrepreneurial intentions, how new technologies reshape business creation, and how entrepreneurial ecosystems respond to major global shocks. This long-term perspective is enormously valuable because entrepreneurship policy requires patience. Strong entrepreneurial ecosystems are not built overnight. They develop over years through consistent investment in education, institutions, finance, infrastructure, and culture. Longitudinal evidence helps governments distinguish between short-term fluctuations and long-term structural change. And that international perspective makes today's report especially valuable. Luxembourg occupies a unique position within the global entrepreneurial landscape. It combines political stability, economic openness, strong institutions, international talent, and world-class financial capabilities with an ambition to remain an innovation-driven economy. Like every country, Luxembourg faces important questions about future competitiveness, productivity, sustainability, technological change, and inclusive growth. Reports such as this provide an invaluable evidence base for addressing these questions. They identify strengths that should be reinforced, barriers that should be reduced, and opportunities that deserve greater investment. Evidence matters because entrepreneurship policy should be informed by facts rather than assumptions. Good policy begins with good data, but it succeeds through informed action. And over the last 27 years, GEM has earned the trust of policymakers and researchers through methodological consistency, academic independence, and international collaboration. None of that would be possible without our national teams. The GEM consortium, the GEM family, is above all a global collaborative community. More than 370 researchers work together through over 150 universities and research institutions, sharing expertise, challenging assumptions, and continually refining our understanding of entrepreneurship. And this collaboration is sustained by the confidence and support of more than 150 funding organizations across the world. Together, they have built what is widely recognized as the world's leading source of entrepreneurship research. The Luxembourg national team is actually an outstanding example of that collaboration, and I would like to thank everyone who contributed to today's report. As Executive Director of GEM, it's both a privilege and an inspiration to work alongside colleagues whose impact extends far beyond producing annual reports. They are informing public policy, educating future entrepreneurs, strengthening entrepreneurial ecosystems, and advancing our understanding of one of the most important drivers of economic and social progress. And looking ahead, I believe entrepreneurship will become even more important. Artificial intelligence, digital transformation, biotechnology, clean energy, and advanced manufacturing are creating entirely new opportunities while simultaneously transforming existing industries. Tomorrow's entrepreneurs will operate in an environment that is more connected, more technology-driven, and quite possibly more uncertain than ever before. Success will depend not only on access to finance, but also on education, skills, institutions, networks, and the ability to adapt continuously. That's why we must continue investing in entrepreneurial ecosystems that enable talented people from every background to realize their potential. Inclusive entrepreneurship is not only a question of fairness, it is also a question of economic performance. The broader the pool of entrepreneurial talent, the stronger and more resilient our economies become. In a few moments, we will hear the findings of this year's Luxembourg report. As you listen, I encourage you to think beyond the individual indicators. The true value of GEM lies not simply in measurement, but in the conversations and actions that evidence makes possible. Here's the question: how do we translate evidence into better policy? How do we strengthen collaboration between governments, universities, investors, educators, and entrepreneurs? How do we create environments where innovative ideas become successful businesses? And how do we ensure that entrepreneurship contributes not only to economic growth, but also to wider social well-being? These are the conversations that deserve our continued attention, and GEM provides an excellent foundation for them. One of the aspects of GEM that inspires me most is its collaborative spirit, which has been mentioned already several times by the speakers that came before me. Our consortium brings together researchers, policymakers, and practitioners from economies at very, very different stages of development. Yet we all share the same objective: to improve understanding of entrepreneurship and to help create environments in which entrepreneurs can succeed. No country has all the answers, but every country has experience from which others can learn. Luxembourg contributes to that global learning, just as it benefits from the insights generated across the GEM network. That exchange of knowledge is one of GEM's greatest strengths. Before I conclude, I'd once again like to express my sincere appreciation to the GEM Luxembourg team, your institutional partners, your sponsors, the survey participants, and the expert respondents. Research of this quality is always a collective achievement. For 27 years now, GEM's mission has united researchers, policymakers, educators, and practitioners in a shared commitment to better understanding entrepreneurship. It is this global collaboration and the evidence it produces that enables countries not only to measure entrepreneurship, but to strengthen it. So let me finish where I began. You cannot strengthen what you do not understand. In uncertain times, understanding becomes one of our greatest assets. The better we understand entrepreneurship, the better equipped we are to support it. The better we support entrepreneurship, the stronger our economies become. And the stronger our economies become, the better positioned we are to create prosperity, resilience, and opportunity for future generations. That's the mission of Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. It's a mission we pursue together with passion across countries, across cultures, and across disciplines. So thank you, everyone, for your commitment to advancing entrepreneurship. And thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. And I wish you every success with the launch of the GEM Luxembourg National Report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aline. Thank you all, friends, colleagues, partners. It's really my pleasure to welcome you and to present the results of time results of 200 pages report with some data that might inform a bit more what how the entrepreneurship is doing in Luxembourg in the last years. Without any further ado, I would like to present you the main results. My presentation here will explain why entrepreneurship, but we understood it. Well, a bit deeper more about GEM and how GEM measures entrepreneurship. To understand the intensity of entrepreneurship in Luxembourg over time and across countries, how the environment is doing, who are these entrepreneurs that are active in Luxembourg, and we will dig further to understand what are the barriers and enablers that the entrepreneurs are facing during their activities. We will have a focus on sustainability, key important topic that was reminded by most all speakers before, and the importance we will focus more on artificial intelligence, how this is perceived, how this is working. And I'm really proud to present two Luxembourg-specific questions that allow us to understand better how Luxembourg entrepreneurs reacted or perceive trade tariffs, and immigration policies, and the dig on their source of finance, one of the main enablers of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, innovation, productivity, social development, clear. We know, understand, no need to convince you about this. Important to remind as well that entrepreneurship, as said by the director before, can be as well productive, unproductive, and destructive as well. So it's important energy and needs to be steered in the right direction. GEM is an international consortium. And the two main important source of data is the adult population survey, a survey of minimum 2,000 adults in age 1864 years old, combined with the national expert survey that collects a perception of key informants, experts about entrepreneurship. 13 years of collaboration, success, And the data are quite reliable and used not only in Luxembourg, but as well from international organizations, European Union, OECD, and far more. So it's important that Luxembourg continue to produce this information. How GEM measures entrepreneurship? The flagship indicator is the TEA, the total early stage entrepreneurial activities, meaning people who declare that they are currently setting up or running a new business for less than 42 months. This is quite broad. It's quite a broad definition, but is harmonized, allows to compare, and captures as well side entrepreneurial activities. Our focus is the person, is the individual. And as I said before, entrepreneurship is seen as a journey. We move from potential entrepreneur, someone who intends to start a business, to people who are acting, nascent, who are new, less to 42 months. Why 42 months? Because other figures shows that is when the mortality of new firms are declining after 50%. Usually after 42 months, 50% of firms are exiting the market. If they succeed to move further, this threshold, we define established business, established entrepreneurs. Okay, this is the funding block. Now I'm going to compare how Luxembourg entrepreneurship intensity works with peers. We focus on European Union because we share a more common framework, is to compare peers with peers. And we see within in the blue line, the dark line, the TA, so the ratio, the proportion of TA entrepreneurs in the population, how this evolved over time, starting from 2013 to 2025. And we observe at the end of this line that 9.4% of residents in the labor force are engaged as entrepreneurs, as TA entrepreneurs. This compares to the European average of 10.3. You see as well the trends, the average. The Luxembourgish average is 8.9, a bit above the European one of 8.6. A word of caution, this is a survey. So this is for sake of presentation, I'm showing you point estimates. But there's some variability because it's important to acknowledge that it's not to the precisely the point, it's the trend that matters. Okay, Luxembourg over time with the average, but we know that TA varies a lot across countries. So these figures is showing within the bar, the TA in European countries participating in GEM in 2025. The dot is the value of the same indicator in 2024. So here we can compare 2 years across countries. It's important because we see not only how Luxembourg compared with the average, but as well how it's doing compared to the previous year. And we observe that the top ranking, the UK ranks highest in terms of the TA entrepreneurship, and Poland is the lowest. Luxembourg is a bit below the average and is indicated there with the red frame. But it's important not only the activity, but as well the intention. It was clearly identified that there is some potential into the economy, potential energies that may be reflected in the next years. And here we see that Luxembourg ranks a bit higher the average, even though slight decline is recorded in the last year. Fear of failure. Fear of failure is defined as the fear. The people declare if they are not starting a business for fear that the business may fail. This is attached with social stigma, legal consequences that may be associated with a business failure. And we observe that Luxembourg is close to the average, is doing almost nicely. What is not shown there, but you may observe in the report as well, that in the previous years, Luxembourg was quite high in terms of fear of failure. Those are people that see an opportunities, but they do not start for some reasons. But we want to dig more on this. And as mentioned before, we are now collecting, actually we closed it 2 days ago, the field work of data collection about fear of failure, where we will dig more onto this, but this is for the next year. Importance, the motivation behind the entrepreneurship. Why they are starting? Are they motivated because they don't find another job opportunity, so it's opportunity cost, or because the entrepreneurs see an opportunity that they want to exploit? And we see here that 36% of entrepreneurs in Luxembourg report having started a business to earning a living because jobs are scarce. 36, the average of the European Union is 58. So I said up front, before read by Jim, the necessity-driven entrepreneurship is low in Luxembourg compared to the others, and a bit decreasing. But what the entrepreneurs think will be the future? What are how they see the future? And they see that 42% of entrepreneurs report low growth expectation for their business. And this is one of the highest among European countries. So they're cautious. They see problems arriving. It's data 2025. Okay. So this is the average, but we want to know a bit more to characterize better quality entrepreneurs. And we are going to do this looking at gender, age, immigration background, and education. What we observe is that there's a gender gap in terms of entrepreneurship. We observe that among all the men resident in the country, 11.5% are TA entrepreneurs, while among all the women, 7.2% are entrepreneurs. There is a gap. Good news is that compared to last year, the gap is narrowing, but still persists. The OECD speaks in terms of a missing entrepreneur. What if women had the same propensity to be entrepreneur as men? Which energy, which potential is hiding behind? So, women. Looking at age, we observe that people that are relatively younger have a higher propensity to start a business. In the group 18 years old to 34 years old, 11.6% are TA entrepreneurs. But it's interesting to observe that in the last years, the elder group is climbing up. They are starting a business as well. There is not only youth entrepreneurs, but the elder are starting. And this is quite an interesting trend. This is substantial, continues since 2021. Migration. Migration was one of the questions asked in the GEM for one country, but given the composition of the resident population in Luxembourg, we trace this information all over the period. We are unique here. And we observe that in general, people who are migrants, here migrants are defined as someone who is not born in the country, so no nationality, but looking at these other indicators. And among all migrants, we observe that 10.5 are entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs, compared to non-migrants, 7.5, 2025. But over time, there is a clear another gap there. Education. Then we observe that more the people are educated, the more likely are to start a business. Precision matters. We define here highly educated as someone who has any form of tertiary education, back and above. So most of the businesses that are starting here are led by educated, with people with higher education. Okay, we now characterize better who are the entrepreneurs. Now we want to focus, and we are going to look at asking to the entrepreneurs what are the barriers that prevents them that are not supporting them in their entrepreneurial activities. And we observe that office space, funding, HR are the main concerns. How to read this charter? The lowest the better. For example, looking at the office space there on the top, we observe that in 2025, 57% of all TA entrepreneurs report difficulties to achieve affordable space, office space, or place where to start their business. This is quite, because constantly the major problem reported by entrepreneurs. But look at funding. We see a huge spike. There's a huge difference from 2024 to 2025 in terms of entrepreneurs funding that perceive problems in receiving fundings, and talent, HR. So people that afford that can the required people, it's difficult to attract, to obtain, and the condition required. Other style things like time, availability of training programs, access potential customers, and information about how to start a business plays a much lower role. Sustainability. Now we focus on how the entrepreneurs are perceiving sustainability goals. And here there are two main indicators. In this chart, what I'm showing is that Luxembourg position in terms of environmental friendly entrepreneurship is weakening. In 2025, 53% of entrepreneurs reported to be engaged in activity minimizing environmental impact. This is a drop compared to 61% of 2024. Last year, Luxembourg was ranking the first among the European countries in terms of environmental friendly entrepreneurship. But European average moved up, other countries are doing better. It may be surprising that we see Romania running the first in this country. But one of the advantages of this data is not only the cross-country comparison, because maybe entrepreneurs may perceive differently what means minimizing environmental impact. Maybe just taking care of waste management, or rather to implement more advanced tools and technologies to decrease environmental impact. But the value of this data is that even though there is some cultural difference in the way they're answering, we observe that Romania is doing better compared to this year. So what is more important here is probably the change from one year to another, not only the ranking. As well, in terms of social entrepreneurship, Luxembourg is doing the position is weakening. Even though, don't we forget that we are still above the European average, and more than 45% of the TA entrepreneurs declare that they're engaged in minimizing social impact. The elephant in the room, AI. So this year I'm delivering you the presentation. Next year probably will be an AI agent, but for the time being, please stay with me and look at. We will look now as artificial intelligence is doing across European countries and over time. This question were included for the first time 3 years ago. So now we can compare not only across country, but as well how Luxembourg changed over time. And we start saying that AI is embedded in entrepreneurial strategies, with 32% of TA entrepreneurs that see AI as very important for their business model and strategy. Was 34% in 2024. We cross-validated our figures survey with business surveys, and we know that with the ICT usage survey that roughly 1/3 of firms are adopting AI. So the figures is consistent. GEM and other figures deliver a consistent figure. There is a decrease, a small decrease, but AI remains important. We observe as well that the positive views on AI are decreasing. We are asking Luxembourg entrepreneurs expecting AI to increase revenues felt from 47% to 24%. You see that Luxembourg is recording one of the highest drop. How to read it? So the perception of the entrepreneurs, the expectations were rather too high before, or simply, we can speculate here. We can say that if as AI is more and more known and used, people adjust their expectation. They understand better what are the benefits associated. Why we're saying this? Because as well the concerns about AI are decreasing. So the entrepreneurs not only now have a better understanding of what are the possible benefits, but they adjust as well their perceived concerns. Looking at data security and privacy, we see a drop from 58% of TA entrepreneurs to 45%. I would like to now introduce two Luxembourg special topics. These are questions that are country specific. This is available only for Luxembourg, so I cannot compare with other countries, but they are particularly valuable. We were setting up to the survey last year when, to a moment, U.S. administration announced a dramatic change in trade policies. It was in April. Just to remind you a bit of context, and immediately there was some discussion, some retaliation from the European Commissions against the US trade, introduction of tariffs, and we were in the middle of setting up the survey. We had to rush and include some questions there that were really important. So we tried to foresee, to understand what are to be responsive to the urgent questions. Well, we were then investigating trade tariffs and migration policy changes. And then we included another question about source of financing. Important to see who are the other ones. We tried, so this is the results that are only for Luxembourg, that maybe other countries, maybe compared with other countries, but this is for future research. What are the main results of these studies? We observed that changing policies are having predominantly a negative effect. We're asking the entrepreneurs, if they expect an impact in change in trade tariff and migration policies on their businesses. And then we are asking about production cost, funding opportunities, access to foreign market, and access to talent people. Looking at the top of the bar, we see that 39% see a worsening situation, but that's much higher than the 20% that expect some improvement. Entrepreneurs not spot as well opportunities in what is happening, even though they are predominantly negative. But this is the average. We dig a bit more to understand better who are they reporting this negative impact. And we observed, we were distinguishing between entrepreneurs who are active only in the European market with entrepreneurs that are selling their products extra way. And we observe that there's only looking at who worsened their expectation, 64% of entrepreneurs active abroad in an extra market expected worse conditions in terms of production cost and as well in the exports. The other important topic we asked for was about which are the source of financing for the entrepreneurs. And we observed that the main sources are personal savings. Of course, it's not easy to raise, to get some money, to get financing. And the first, most important source of financing is personal savings, followed by personal credit cards. We were quite surprised that this is important because in our survey, we have as well many entrepreneurs that are sole entrepreneurs, small ones. So distinction between the private savings and the business savings can be blurred. Is explaining why so many rely on personal credit cards, even though it's quite one of the most expensive source of financing. The bank, how the bank system is doing. 18% of TA entrepreneurs report that they have access to the bank loans. And we compared with 12% of entrepreneurs who receive the support from public program, national Europeans, subsidies or grant. So there is some public support for the entrepreneurs that is not negligible. So that's the main results that I summarized from 200 pages of report that is not printed. We are environmental friendly. And what will be next? For the future, say that we are going to look at fear of failure. We will dig more. I mentioned before, we have just finalized the data. We'll be providing the source for of information for the next report. As mentioned by the director, we are trying, taking this exercise an opportunity to experimenting with a pilot study in order to be more timely. This is not only to have some measure report for with cross-country comparison once per year, probably have some more light, more agile surveys. We are working on it. I hope I can deliver something more for the next time. Before closing, allow me to give you a wrap up of the main takeaways of this year. Broadly, the TA, the entrepreneurial activity in Luxembourg is stable, despite the global uncertainty, but yet the expectation of business growth are relatively weak. Luxembourg entrepreneurs remain opportunity-driven, and the commitment to sustainability remains, but the ranking of the position is a bit weakening. AI is important, but the perception evolves. We observed these figures that less positive expectation and less negative expectation of AI implementation. Remains significant gender socio-demographic gaps. This is probably something that we can do better as a country. Population generally perceive easy to start a business into Luxembourg. The barriers are some are decreasing, some are higher, but access to finance and the space for running a business and the human capital remains an important barrier. Luxembourg's entrepreneurs primarily rely on personal savings. And the uncertainty of the policy change is particularly relevant for extra exporter. All of this is in the report. And with this, I thank you, merci vielmals, for your attention, and keen to take any question and curious to have the feedback of the stakeholders, many of whom are here in the room, online. Thank you. The main points. Yes.
I'd like to add something on the fear to fail factor. You have to know in 2023, the bankruptcy law was changed, and in the Audit Etablissement, which is our business permit law, there's a new chance or second chance was installed, but with the clip levels where you could get a second chance were quite low. And there's a new change of the law underway where these financial factors are largely raised. So it's a really good moment to do this part for the next year's report. And you have to repeat it once, 2 or 3 years later to see the effect of the changes in law. But there's like a change in attitude to the bankruptcy, which is often seen in Europe as something very negative compared to the Anglo-Saxon world, where they say you have first to fall 3 times and then have the real opportunity.
Took note.
And there's one thing, one of your last points, mainly when you export extra EU, there is public organizations like ODL, Office du Devoir, that can help there. There is, I think, information raising. We have to pass the message that there is possibilities to get support if you export in extra EU.
Point to take. Please.
So there are many interesting points, and I think the majority we also see it in our daily work, what we are doing at House of Entrepreneurship as entrepreneurs that we are meeting, and also studies that we are doing with the Chamber of Commerce, where we collect feedback from entrepreneurs, but also established entrepreneurs. So there's a mix of small companies, but also bigger companies. Maybe just one aspect is about, we have now the talent is a big point, but also access to funding and financial access. And here, maybe it's interesting to know that we launched recently a new service at the House of Entrepreneurship, so which is there to really guide and inform entrepreneurs about the financial state aids that exist and where to go, what are the criteria compared to my needs. And we have teams dedicated really to support and guide entrepreneurs and help them to find the right ad to their needs and profile. We are working closely there with the Ministry of Economy also, and we do also roadshows really to go and see companies and so entrepreneurs and make it more visible. I think the objective is really to make the state ads also more visible and the grants that exist, because there are many grants that exist, and really to see what can you benefit from. And this could be interesting also to see in the future what will this impact. Yeah. And hopefully it will increase. This part.
Yeah, fear of failure. If you talk about entrepreneurs, and then you talk about people who have a high likelihood not to make it, then it's obvious that you do fear of failure. But just two remarks. I mean, fear of failure can be a highly biased observation, because there's a lot of people having fear of failure, hence they don't start a business. And you want to know about them to really know what the fear of failure for those who then did make it is. That is said. And the other remark I am trying to make is, okay, fear of failure, then you want to know where it comes from, and then you have the usual demographics, and women, age, education, but you can do very little about it, because you want to know determinants where you can do something about it. And I'm not an expert in this part of the literature, but this is what strikes me when I read a bit. And so what's important, you have to look for determinants which you can influence. For instance, those who then at least visited the House of Entrepreneurship 2 times have less fear of failure or more fear of failure than those who didn't. I'm just mentioning does it exist? Policy determinants.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think I think fear of failure is already a topic a while ago, and it was very cultural. So it's more, I think it's really deep. And I think we really have to invest in the education part. Start early. And not just see it as a short-term aspect or what can we do, but it's really cultural and education part. So I think that's important to develop initiatives where we can really also encourage young people to dare and to try and to move forward.
I perceive somehow the wish as well to have before and after. So I understand that if they are working or not from all your good things that goes in terms of evaluation, but how good some tools are working. This is my understanding. Fear of failure is not only. I perceive doing now the source of financing and see what will be after a few years. That is quite encouraging. On fear of failure, I have quite positive and negative feeling. I mean, it's important as well that there is a kind of filter. If your business idea is not working, you realize it. Fear of failure can be good because it prevents you to make a mistake.
Absolutely.
At the same time, this is the excessive fear of failure. This is a problem. And this is exactly the direction we are trying to take with the current work. Then in coordination with Caciotti, this is a leading researcher in fear of failure and entrepreneurship. So I hope next year to have something more to add.
Questions also?
Yes. Oh. I'm wow. Can you ask what is easier?
Yeah, yes.
What are the major sectors that are active? Thanks. GEM is not probably the best source to answer this question. You may rely better on business statistics that are available. Generally speaking, most of the entrepreneurs are active in the service sector, not the manufacturing one, especially in distinguishing between business to consumers rather than business to business. So generally speaking, if you are interested in more detailed ones, to NACE code 4 digits, distinguishing if you are producing food with organic material only, I recommend you to look at the STATEC data about businesses. The second question is, I'm wondering why there was no presentation about the details regarding the national context in the score. Down, okay. So as I mentioned, this is really for Clara. This is we are reporting this on the NECI on the report. That is below 5%. Yes, and the Luxembourg has dropped. Yeah, this is a general condition. Okay. Give me a second to read all of this. Okay, so yes. Okay. Okay, for the NECI, I recommend you the chapter 12 of the GEM report that will be published soon, I think. So, yeah. Okay.
Jesuit, you just used an acronym, NECI?
NECI, sorry. NECI is the National Entrepreneurial Context Index. It's basically an aggregated indicator based on 36 experts who answered to the NACE survey. I made the choice to present more the quantitative data rather than the qualitative one. But we have work done on analyzing what are the suggestions of our experts. Any other questions, remarks?
I have one.
Please.
Which chapter do you find the most useful for Luxembourgish policies on the entrepreneurship? I haven't read yet your report, but just one.
All. If you are in rush, there is an executive summary that's 3 pages with the main points, the main takeaways, and if you like, there's even the infographics done by the communication. I want to emphasize that this is a team, it's a work of many people with my colleagues. I want to mention from Maxime Pettinger, Chiara Peroni, plus other the collective work done inside to gather information. I second the collaborative efforts done by everybody. I'm really happy to have here as well the contribution from academia, stakeholders, university, other research institutes. Yes.
I just wanted to maybe add something in the raise of the need of financing and not accessing to financing. Because so we at Microlux, we are more specialized for starting businesses. But we noticed that we are getting more and more requests also from existing businesses that are in difficulties and are requesting some credit lines that they get rejected from banks. And for us, this is also very difficult to to accept such requests. But so my I don't know if maybe this rise of businesses not finding finances, is it not maybe also a sign that there are more and more businesses that are in difficulties, that are maybe not doing so good? Question. But it's like something that we can see in our in our work.
Definitely, the economic environment matters as well for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs may anticipate better conditions, spotting opportunities, and therefore suffer from the general condition. In this sense, for sure, having access to finance, it's important. I'm happy you raised this point. Microlux is one of the organizations that is in charge, that is try to help vulnerable groups to get access to finance. And you may want to say something else, maybe.
Yeah, I could add up that you have to distinguish two cases: the startups, but not absolutely technological. It's new entrepreneurs launching themselves. There's one key problem is opening the first account. That is a topic that is a concern. But there we are working, or different banks are opening opportunities to speed it up. But the general climate also in banks is that it's more difficult than a few years ago to have financing. There is a public promotion bank in Luxembourg called SNCI that launched a credit that is all-purpose credit that is at 0%. It's 80% guaranteed by SNCI, and the commercial bank has to do the last 20. So it's to take away the fear from the bank that they would sit on 100% effective loan, and this should help. We see that our first case is done, first files passed, but the extent of there should be even more, and we think that it's not well known enough at the actual moment, that you have to do some more efforts in the promotion of this tool, because if you can have up to 200,000 euros in credit, where 80%, this is the 80% that SNCR would cover, and you would not have to pay interest, and that you could have a grace period from 1 to 4 years, depending on the type of business. This is what companies need at the moment in time, where credit is more difficult than maybe a few years ago. So this we have to do the promotion and see that there is more fight that would pass, and that companies get financing. But this is a reaction to the situation that is somewhat worse.
If there are no other questions in the room and online, I think we can close here, and I invite you to have some finger food available outside here in the room. And thank you all for attending. Enjoy the lunch.